Hey everybody, it's time to put your big boy pants on because this is the HJC Podcast. Hey everybody, it's Ryan here, Saturday's writer, HJC admin, coming to you from Toronto, Ontario.
Hey everybody, this is Brendan, otherwise known as Beepo. I'm the Thursday writer, and I'm from Pittsburgh.
Hey everybody, it's Sean with Jets 96, coming at you live from Charlottetown, PEI.
How's it going, everyone? Wednesday writer Phil here, coming at you from Long Island, New York.
Hey everybody, this is Steve. I'm the Sunday writer, coming from Pittsburgh, PA.
Hey everybody, it's TC, the Friday writer, rookie of the staff, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome, and this is the HJC Podcast, so let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start with the Stanley Cup Final, and of course, everyone knows about a week ago, the Pittsburgh Penguins captured their second Stanley Cup in a row. Joining me for the Cup Final review is Steve, Phil, and Brendan. And Brendan, I'm going to go to you first, and being a Pittsburgh fan from the area, just thoughts on Pittsburgh winning second Stanley Cup in a row in the cap era, which, as we all know, is incredibly difficult to keep a team together for that long.
Yeah, it's an incredible achievement, and I'll admit, I guess it kind of wasn't as exciting as last year, just coming off of the same feeling last year, but still it's just incredible. The parade, I got to go to the parade. It was really fun, especially seeing a lot of the players and some of them getting a little bit drunk. just seeing how much fun they were having.
Well, that picture of Ole
it's an incredible feeling. Many pictures of Ole Mata came out, and Justin Schultz.
Steve, you're also from the area. Thoughts on back-to-back championships?
It was great. I was just a baby the last time they went back-to-back, so from all the older people who were actually alive during that time, they said that it felt just like the old times. But yeah, that was... And you can't really compare the two, because I felt like this one, like this series, or the whole playoffs might have been a little bit harder this year. It's just, they literally went against two great teams in the first round, and they just had to limp all the way through. And, they finished it off somehow in style.
Yeah, they did have patchwork defense, but they got it done. Phil, I know you've mentioned to me before that anybody in the same division as the Islanders doesn't get your love. Your thoughts on your thoughts on the final?
See, the thing is with this final is I got to give the Pittsburgh Penguins a lot of credit because, as I mentioned in my Wednesday post, this is the first time in the cap era that a team has gone back-to-back, let alone win two championships fairly close to each other. So, all credit to them. It was an interesting series, to say the least. So I was glad to enjoy it. And obviously you two are as well, being from Pittsburgh. But
yeah, as well, speaking of that, there's really no game that was extremely close. Maybe unless you're a Penguins or Predators fan, then you're sitting there biting your nails through the whole thing. But just going through the scores.
The last game.
Well, the last game was the closest,
right.
Yeah. 5-3, 4-1, 5-1, 4-1, 6-0, 2-0. Did anyone here find the series not enjoyable because some of the blowouts?
Well, games 3 and 4, as a Penguins fan, weren't very enjoyable.
I can just imagine. But
it's all your fault.
Okay, let's go.
Thanks, Murray. It's all your fault. Now we have a cup.
As Penguins fans, the Predators fans chanting, was that getting on your nerves, or was it fun, or how'd that go over in Pittsburgh? Steve?
I don't know, because I guess it's their place, it's fair game. I can understand the Murray chant, but it's just... It's whatever, man. They can do what they want. They're at their own home ice. We can do what we want. If we want to be the classier people, we can be the classier people.
Oof. Good point. Because I know, speaking as a Leafs fan here, which has nothing to do with the Stanley Cup. When they play the Canadiens and the Habs fans start getting on the Ole chants, I mean, that drives me nuts. So, just wondering how the Penguins fans handled the Predators chants.
Yeah, I guess I remained indifferent to it, but it's kind of fun to make fun of their chants now by saying that, Murray, it's all your fault that now we have back-to-back cups.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, winning the cup shuts everyone up, right? Sidney Crosby winning back-to-back Conn Smythe trophies, too. I was actually a little surprised with that choice. I was ready to give it to Gensel. But, Brendan, why don't you give us who you thought was the MVP of the playoffs? Maybe you agreed with the Crosby choice?
Now, I know this wouldn't have been realistic, but I think it would have been awesome if we could have gone to both Fleury and Murray. Fleury backstopped us through half the playoffs. Literally took us through the Capital Series. Otherwise, I don't think we would have gotten through that one. And then Murray just finished it off. It's about as symbolic as it can get. They both played great. I think it would have been great if it could have gone to both of them. And I think if one of them played the entire playoffs, it probably should have gone to them. But Gensel definitely isn't a bad choice, and I guess I can't complain about Crosby.
Steve, your thoughts on the Conn Smythe?
I was going to say Gensel. He was just, like we were talking earlier, he was a sleeper.
Yeah.
Just he came out and he did what? He tied the rookie record.
He was tied or either one off or, yeah.
He was like tied or one off for it, and he just did really good. He found ways to score. He found ways to give the puck away to other people. So I think he should have gotten it, but Sidney Crosby being Sidney Crosby, for some reason he's just up one level above most others. So,
Phil, thoughts on the Conn Smythe?
After 2 years in a row, the Conn Smythe is now officially a joke. Sidney Crosby should not have won the Conn Smythe in either year. First year it should have been Patrick Hornqvist.
Yes.
And second year it should have been Jake Gensel.
Yes.
It's like saying that in 2009 when the Yankees won the World Series, they give it to Derek Jeter. No. Doesn't deserve it.
What sport is that? Is that baseball?
I don't know.
It's not even a sport. It's a leisure activity.
Yes. But still, you get my point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should have gone to Gensel. Should have gone to Hornqvist last year. Giving it to Crosby this year is an absolute joke.
Well, speaking of Crosby, for me, with the Stanley Cup win this year, the Conn Smythe, whether or not he was deserving, it moves him into the top 5 all time as far as I'm concerned. Phil, as someone who probably hates Crosby, your thoughts on his all-time standing?
I would actually agree with you. Top 5 all time. Absolutely. But Gretzky, obviously, number 1. You throw Bobby Orr and Gordie Howe up there somewhere within that top 5, and then Mario Lemieux, and then Crosby rounds it out.
Crosby better than Lemieux, or you take Lemieux over Crosby?
See, this is the thing, though. With Lemieux, it was a little bit different because of how his career ended up in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
But
the big what if.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I like to call it.
It is the big what if. What if Mario Lemieux was still able to play during the late 90s?
Yeah. Steve,
on that note, I read an article like the other day that compared Crosby and Lemieux by using era-adjusted stats, and Lemieux still blew Crosby out of the water.
Mm.
So
really?
If that's any indication, yeah.
Well, okay. to be fair, in this era, the goaltending is like 10 times better than when Mario Lemieux got started.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's so much
sure,
better.
But again, they used era-adjusted stats, and it took that kind of thing into account.
Yeah. How much better was Lemieux?
I don't remember, actually. It was like a day or two ago.
So it's a credible source. Just believe us. Everything's cool.
Yes. I think it was like Sportsnet or something like that.
Okay.
Hockey Jersey Concepts were one step above Eklund.
I don't know if everyone got a chance to look at the locker room shirt and the champion's hat, and just your thought on probably the last Reebok hat and shirt that we'll see. I would have to assume Adidas is taking that over. But, Steve, your thoughts, I don't know if you saw the merchandise and what you thought about it, and if you would buy anything.
I like the shirts.
Yeah, the shirt was cool. The shirt was okay.
The shirt was cool. The shirt was just the way it was laid out. It was it was different. But the hat, I did not like how they had the Stanley Cup as like an outline on the brim of it. It looked weird. It didn't even look like the cup.
And I don't know if that was faux leather on the back or if that was just sweat from the players that was soaking into the hat, but I don't know. On the back, it kind of looked like fake, cheap pleather. And I think I gave the hat a 5 out of 10 on Twitter. Brendan, would you buy any of the Champs merchandise?
Actually, I went out early today to get some, but they were sold out.
Good for you.
I like the shirt design for sure, and this is a very privileged problem to have, but I like last year's hat design better.
Yeah, totally agree.
The only thing that I really don't like about this year's, though, is the horseshoe-looking thing over the logo. I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Other than that, it doesn't wow me, but it doesn't scream, oh my god, this design is awful.
Fair enough. Phil, thoughts on the hat shirt?
Yeah, I have it pulled up right now, and the cup on the brim doesn't bother me too much because of how a lot of the draft hats of late have been designed, where you have a partial logo on the brim. So, at the same time, yeah, I gotta agree with Brendan, that horseshoe thing just looks dumb. There's no reason for it to be there.
All right, just to quickly wrap up this section, when we think of the back-to-back Penguins championship winning teams here, what jersey are you going to think about them wearing when you think about this championship team, Phil?
Their black current home jersey, because it's the only jersey they wore in both series.
And it's ironic that they never won the cup in that.
I know. I was just thinking about that. They've never. Well, not only that, but they've also never won the cup in a home jersey ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Never at home.
The only cup that's been won in Pittsburgh was Detroit in 2008.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan. Go ahead, Steve.
Sorry. The only hockey team to actually win a hockey cup was the Pittsburgh Hornets right before they were disbanded for the Penguins at the Mellon Arena.
Interesting. Steve, what jersey would you think of them wearing?
The home blacks.
Home blacks. Same for you, Brendan?
I think I have to echo that, yeah, unless you're actually talking about the game that they won the Stanley Cup, because they wore two different jerseys for that, too. But if you just look back on the team in general, I think you're going to remember the home blacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that wraps up our Cup Final preview. We'll be back in a while with our Vegas roster predictions.
You're listening to the HJC Podcast with Brian Haslett, Sean Bruce, Phil Beck, Brendan Poe, T.C. Moore, Steve Markulitis, and William Butala.
Welcome back, everybody. We're going to be talking about the Vegas Golden Knights here on the HJC Podcast. Joining me is Phil, Jets96, and TC. And we're going to be talking about a few players that we have identified that maybe will end up on the Vegas Golden Knights roster. I'm sure by the time you're listening to this, the protected lists will be out and you'll be able to make your own roster. But at the time of recording, we don't know those. So here we go. TC, we're going to start with you. Maybe a goalie that you've identified, a couple goalies that may end up on this roster.
If we're going with goalies, I'm going to go with Fleury as the obvious choice for number one. There's really no one else they can go with. As a Rangers fan, I was really afraid that Antti Raanta was going to go, but I think he's still on the table. But I think they could also try to go for one of the younger goalies in Ullmark from Buffalo, or try and get Subban from the Bruins, who is only eligible because of his AHL time.
Interesting. Did not know that. Phil, thoughts on goalies?
Well, I tweeted out earlier today on Thursday that I said I would laugh if Marc-Andre Fleury would not go to Vegas when all's said and done. So, obviously, Marc-Andre Fleury is probably going to be the guy, since he waived his no-move clause for Vegas. As for other goalies, yeah, Linus Ullstrom seems to be the obvious choice, as well as a backup. Not sure about a third goalie, though.
I think any third goalie...
You can pick anyone.
In the history of expansion drafts, the third goalie drafted is usually a trade chip, and they end up getting something else. I think, personally for me, I think that's where Fleury ends up. They take him but then they trade him for something. Who knows?
Interesting.
Jets, goalie picks for the Vegas Golden Knights.
I like that you bring up the trade bait thing because, that's exactly what historically A, teams have done, and B, the fact that Ben Bishop said when he signed with the Stars that he was in talks with the Golden Knights and they said they want someone younger. With that being said, when I came up with this, I was under the impression Fleury was going to the Flames. But at this point, it's a guarantee he will be drafted. What happens after that is unknown. A couple of guys I like are Peter Budaj and Mike Condon.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Budaj he's NHL caliber again. If not the best he's ever been, Mike Condon again, best he's ever been. And for a young guy, I'd go with Scott Wedgwood from the Devils.
Ooh, good pick.
Good choice.
Now, because of the trade that happened on Saturday with Calgary and Arizona, does Brian Elliott possibly become exposed, and is Vegas interested in him? TC.
I think he's definitely exposed at this point, but I don't really know if that's who Vegas is going to want to pick. I think that he's just not quite what they're looking for, and they're going to go elsewhere.
Everyone else kind of agree with that, or is maybe I was thinking maybe Elliott could be brought in as a veteran backup? Because if it was me and I'm not a general manager, I'm going the Rangers goalie Ranta, maybe Elliott backup. I'm also taking Fleury to trade. Thoughts, Phil?
See, the thing is, though, and I was just looking up Mike Smith's contract, because that's going to be a major factor in determining whether or not Vegas wants him. It was a 6-year, $34 million deal, so he's making $5.67 million each year. Does Vegas really want to take on all that salary? So I think the Flames would leave Smith exposed.
The Flames, they've just acquired him, and you think they're going to leave him exposed? That's
with that contract, absolutely.
Interesting. We'll see.
It's the same reason why I think Jarro Halak's going to be unprotected and not go anywhere.
No, I don't think he's going anywhere. Jets close out the goalie section.
I think that the thing that hinges on Ranta is whether or not the Jets make a move for him. That's a rumor going around. Whether or not that happens, who knows? They do need somebody for the meantime. I would take Ranta over Elliott, any day, especially after the season he had. He's inconsistent. When he's good, he's great. When he's bad, he's bad. But I think that, in a team that's looking for youth, you don't want to be making a move for a guy who's 32. He's been in the NHL for almost 10 years now.
Good point. And it sounds like that Vegas is looking for draft picks. That's what came out on Saturday. That they're willing to take on people's teams' bad contracts in exchange for draft picks. Smart move. May help them get better. One of their weak points, though, if you look at possible players that will be exposed, is defense. And in the research that I did, Brodin from Minnesota and Edmondson from St. Louis might have been the top two names that came up. Jets, thoughts on maybe one or two defensemen that will end up in Vegas?
Actually, I had Jack Johnson as one of them, but with the news that Columbus will be making the trade to secure the fact that they take Murray or two other guys. The other guy that I think, Trevor Van Riemsdyk.
Mm-hmm.
This point, I think, is a guarantee once that deal with Chicago, so that way the Vegas Knights take two contracts from the Blackhawks to help them with their salary cap situation. And a guy that I think could go would be Luke Schenn.
Luke Schenn still has value in the league?
I think so. He's good, but not great. And I think that a team that knows that, if they don't expect what Toronto expected out of him, then that's great.
TC, thoughts on defensemen, maybe two, that end up in Vegas?
I definitely am on board with Jets. I think Van Riemsdyk is assured to go to Vegas. The two others that I was looking at was Vatanen from the Ducks. I think they'd be willing to take him out. And then Demers from Florida, who is definitely, they could put him in their top four immediately.
Is that the same Demers who was on San Jose? Or is this a different guy? Jason Demers? I might be wrong. Well, TC looks that up. Phil, thoughts on defensemen that may end up?
So here on the island, a lot of talk circulates about which of the following two defensemen that Vegas takes from the New York Islanders. It's either going to be Calvin DeHaan or Thomas Hickey, because there's no way the Islanders protect either of those two. They're probably going to expose both of them.
So
they're two young defensemen that with low contracts. So
okay, I mean, if that's
low risk.
If that's me and I'm Vegas, I'm going after the younger guy in DeHaan. I know he played in Oshawa, so I got to see him in a few games.
Mm-hmm. He's not bad.
Yeah, I like the Damaris pick from Florida. Turns out he is the same guy who played in San Jose. So I didn't know there's a possibility he may be exposed. We'll find out by the time you listen to this podcast. Let's go up front now with the forwards. I like Perreault from Winnipeg. Killorn from Tampa Bay. TC, who do you like forwards for Vegas? And maybe someone that can be their Brian Bradley for anybody who was alive in 92, 93.
I wasn't born till 94, so I'm kind of SOL on that.
Am I the only guy here who was born before 92?
Yeah, I think so.
Now I'm old. That's awesome. All right, let's go forwards.
Hey, I was born in 91.
All right. Okay, I was born in 83, so thanks, guys. That's awesome. All right, TC, forwards.
I say they take Neil from the Preds. I think he's going to end up in the gray. And then, I do think they're going with gray for if the teasers are to be believed. And then I can see them, if he's not protected, Zucker from the Wild, I think could be a good pick for them, or Zingle from the Sens.
Zingle, yes. Okay. Jets, some forwards that may end up in Vegas.
You know, he tends to get moved around a lot, but he is almost 35. At least Stempniak can still put points up, and teams are always willing to move him. So throw him in there for the sake of him being there. And another guy, again, I'm going with an old guy and another former Leaf, but Matt Stajan.
Stajan, oh man, wow.
He's a penalty kill expert, and he's a good guy for young guys. So we see it in Calgary. He's a good guy for young guys to work under. So
he plays any role that they ask him to play. So
exactly, and for a team that is going to have a lot of under 23s, a guy like Stajan is perfect.
That's a good choice. I like that. Phil, maybe some forwards that end up in Vegas.
I'm looking at three names that would definitely attract Vegas for sure. Thomas Plekanec from the Montreal Canadiens.
Blech.
Yeah. James Neal from the Nashville Predators and Michael Grabner from the Rangers. I could see anyone. Yes, Michael Grabner, former Islander as well.
Yeah.
He's been around for quite a bit.
Yeah, well, 2 years ago with the Leafs. So
he's with the Leafs. Islanders, started with the Canucks. Now with the Rangers. He's probably going to end up in Vegas.
All right. Well, considering we don't know who's available, I mean, those are some pretty good predictions. Now,
right.
If as we close this section out here, thinking about the fan base in Vegas, maybe what their goals are, how much of a grace period are they going to have here? Do they have to contend right away? And contend means making the playoffs or making a push for the playoffs. Or do you think the Vegas fan base will give them 2, 3, 4 years? Jets, thoughts on the Vegas fan base and how long it will be until Vegas contends for the playoffs?
I think a nice thing about going to the Pacific Division is that it's not particularly a great division right now. It's good, but not great. The Sharks are on the point where they're going to have to consider a rebuild in the next couple of years. The Coyotes are rebuilding. The Canucks are just starting to rebuild. Flames teeter on being good. So, this is a chance for, I don't even think that they'll be the worst team in the division next year. I think the Coyotes will be worse. How long does Vegas have? I don't know. I think that they have probably about 2 seasons to sort of get to the 80-point mark. I think that's a relatively low expectation. But the point in which you're sitting within 10, 15 points of a playoff spot and you're not at the Colorado level, then you're doing okay. I think that this isn't like an Atlanta situation where you have to grasp the market right away or you're not going to do anything. But yeah.
Now does the arrival of the Raiders, what is that, 3 years away, the Oakland
Yeah.
Raiders, do you think that pushes them? Do you think they have to be contending or in the playoffs by the time the Raiders get there, Phil?
Yeah, no, none of this is going to involve the Raiders in any way, shape, or form because the Raiders, they've got 8 home games as opposed to the 41 that you see for any hockey team. So, obviously, the Golden Knights are going to fill a lot more dates in that city, and plus the Raiders are maybe 3 years plus away from coming over from Oakland.
Right, okay. TC, thoughts on maybe if the Raiders will affect the Golden Knights, how long they have to contend, and if how long will the fan base, a grace period that they'll give the team?
I'm not really sure that the Raiders are going to have that much of an impact because, for the most part, it's going to be 2 entirely separate markets that they're looking for. That being said, I've been kind of going over this in my head because, on the one hand, I don't really see people of Vegas being that, I can see them being very fickle, but on the other hand, I think that they're going to be very excited to have any sort of professional sports team, and they're going to be able to give them a little bit of a grace period just because they're still so amped about the fact that they now have a professional sports team. So I think if they're able to get, not bottom the division, but not necessarily making the playoffs within the next 2-3 seasons, I think they'll be able to find a solid fan base that'll support them.
All right, good stuff. We'll see how the Vegas roster shakes out over the next 4 days. Hopefully you're reviewing your exposed lists as you listen to this podcast. Thanks, everybody, for joining this section. We'll be back in moments with some NHL awards predictions. On Wednesday, June 21st, the NHL Awards and the NHL Expansion Draft will come live from Las Vegas. And on Friday, June 23rd, live from Chicago, it's the NHL Entry Draft. You can join HJC and join in on the conversation on Twitter, @HockeyJC, and we'll all get together and talk about the awards, the expansion draft, and the entry draft. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to cover the NHL Awards, which take place on June 21st, live from beautiful Las Vegas. Just remember that only the regular season is considered when these award nominees are given. And we're going to start with GM of the Year. The nominees: Peter Chiarelli, Pierre Dorion from Edmonton, Chiarelli from Edmonton, Dorion from Ottawa, and David Poile from Nashville. Jets, start us off. Who's your GM of the Year?
I'm going to give it to Dorian because I did not expect for Ottawa to be a playoff team, let alone a conference final team, but his management style, even in the face of adversity with regards to Anderson and some of the injuries that they've had, he managed to put together a team that was 1 game away from the Stanley Cup Final.
Steve, your pick.
I'm going to have to agree with the Jets on that one. Ottawa just came out of nowhere, and I think Dorian did a pretty good job of making sure that they were able to go that far. It's just they ran into the Penguins, and somehow they were able to constantly win, and they brought it all the way down to the wires. So they, I think they deserve, Dorian deserves it the most.
Brendan, you have a thought on GM of the Year?
I can't agree with that one, but I think you guys are looking at the playoffs a little bit too much. If I were to include the playoffs, I would give it to Poile. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Poile.
But if you have to look at just the regular season, I'm going to say Chiarelli because even though McDavid wasn't necessarily his doing, because that was a pretty obvious choice from first overall. Actually, was he even the GM at that point? I can't even remember. But he still got them back to the playoffs for the first time in, 9-10 years. So I think that's got to be something.
Good point.
That's got to be worth something.
Jack Adams Award now for Coach of the Year. Mike Babcock from Toronto, Todd McClellan from Edmonton, John Tortorella from Columbus. Go ahead, Jets.
This is totally a toss-up, but for Toronto fans, they expected Babcock to be really good. McClellan was expected to be really good and get this Edmonton team good. Tortorella came out of nowhere, and this Columbus team has totally bonded with him, and he's done such a fantastic job. Even though they had an early playoff exit in the end, it doesn't matter. I think that he totally deserves to win it.
Steve?
I was going to say Tortorella, too. He turned that team into a dominating team. They just were really, really good overall in the season, and that was just a great way to open up the playoffs, honestly. They were the Penguins. And I believe Sullivan was actually under Tortorella at one point. So, yeah, I think so. They mentioned it during the first round.
You mean like as an assistant coach? Because if so, that's true, yeah. They spent a lot of time together, coaching together.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Brendan, your thought on Coach of the Year?
Speaking of Sullivan, I think he should at least be in the running because despite a pretty stacked team, the Penguins have dealt with a lot of injuries, a lot of adversity, and he still managed to get them second in the league. So I think he should be in the running, but if we're going to talk about who is in the running, I'm going to have to agree with Tortorella for basically the exact reasons everybody else did, and there's no reason there's no reason to explain anymore. They've already covered it all.
Interesting. Everyone chooses John Tortorella. I would not choose John Tortorella for anything, even giving a piece of toilet paper to. Moving on to the Calder Trophy, Rookie of the Year, Laine from Winnipeg, Matthews from Toronto, Werenski from Columbus. Jets, go ahead.
Matthews. I'm a Jets fan. I love Laine, but Matthews is taking control of that team, and he's basically what we thought Connor McDavid was going to be if he had played that whole first season, but even with a sort of leadership quality and a sense of maturity that we didn't get in McDavid's first season. So I think he's totally deserving of it.
Steve?
Matthews, all the way. Same thing what Jet said. He basically touched on everything.
Brendan, you agree?
I agree. Let's not let this go any longer than it has to.
Good points all around. Love that you guys picked the Maple Leaf guys, so that's awesome. Vezina.
Hey, at least you guys can win something.
Thank you. That's awesome. That's very nice of you. And we'll throw him a parade and everything. It'll be great. Vezina for Goalie of the Year, Bobrovsky, Columbus, Holtby from Washington, Price from Montreal. Go ahead, Jets.
Since it can't be Peter Buda, I'm going to go with Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky has not only come back from terrible seasons with injuries, he led that team. He was by far the most dominant goalie of them. Holtby, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins it. He was also very good, but I think Bobrovsky has a little of an edge in terms of quality goaltending play.
Holtby's my pick because he played so many games with Washington. Steve, your pick for Goalie of the Year, the Vezina.
I'm tossed up between Holtby and Bobrovsky.
If you had to give it to one of them, just give it to one of them.
Probably Holtby.
Fair enough. We don't need reasoning.
It's just they both did really good. So, they both. To put it into words, it was almost like they both worked themselves back to being top-notch goaltenders, but I just think that Holtby put more on his back.
Good point. That's what I would say. Brendan, Goalie of the Year, who do you got?
Again, I think I'm kind of tossed up between Bobrovsky and Holtby, but I'm just going to say Holtby, and I don't have much reasoning because I don't have much time to follow every team. So I'm just going to put a disclaimer for some of these. I don't have much time to follow the NHL aside from the Penguins. So
you know what? That's where
if my predictions suck, I apologize. Come at me.
That's where a lot of the weird votes come in, though, because they do let regional writers who are just assigned to the team by their networks to vote, and they're not true hockey fans. They just happen to follow that team that they're assigned to for that season, and they happen to get a vote for the awards. We'll go to the Norris Trophy for Best Defenseman of the Year. Burns from San Jose, Hedman from Tampa Bay, Carlson from Ottawa. Jets, go ahead.
Hedman would get my vote for this. As much as I think that Burns and Carlson are fantastic defensemen, they're on far superior teams. And Hedman really has turned out to be someone who at one point I thought could have been considered a bust. He's come into Tampa and he has put that defense on his back, and this season was no exception to that. And he's one of the reasons why I think they remained so competitive without Stamkos once again.
Steve?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I want to say Carlson, but just looking overall at the playoffs when they played the Penguins and watching throughout the season all the time, it just didn't impress me that much. I didn't really pay attention to the other two. So.
Well, Carlson was on a broken foot. Burns was in the group of leading scorers for most of the season, so when considering this award, they do consider offensive and defensive stats.
I could see that from Burns being very offensive.
Yes, absolutely. So. Brendan, you got a pick for Norris Trophy, Defenseman of the Year.
I'm in a pretty similar situation to Steve, not really paying attention to much other than the Penguins because I don't really have much time to, but so I guess Carlson just seems like a safe pick, right?
We can put you down for Justin Schultz.
Sure. How about Phil Kessel?
That guy doesn't even know what defense is, so don't even bother. And finally, Hart Trophy, MVP. Not to the league, but most valuable player to his team. Bobrovsky nominated again, Crosby from Pittsburgh, McDavid from Edmonton. Let's go to the non-Penguins fan. Jets first. Who do you got?
It really is all of them are well deserving of it. But my pick has to go to McDavid because, his point total alone, 30 goals, but 70 assists. Without him, the Edmonton's at best the second wild card team. This is a guy who puts his team on his shoulders, and during the regular season was, I think, marginally more of an MVP to his team than Crosby.
Agreed. Steve?
David.
All right. And Brendan?
I think I have to echo them in saying McDavid, but I think it could be a toss-up between Crosby and McDavid because Crosby led the Penguins to second place in the Metropolitan Conference, the league, and the Stanley Cup, but you don't really count that. And McDavid led them back to the playoffs, but McDavid had a lot less of a stacked team to work with as well. So as much as I'd love to see Crosby win something else, I'm going to give it to McDavid.
I'd have to agree there. Anyways, we'll see how that shakes out. June 21st in Vegas, along with the expansion draft results revealed. HJC, I'll be on Twitter. You can find a whole bunch of other people that love HJC. They'll get in on the conversation too. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be right back with a preview of the 2017 HJC Open.
It's here again, the HJC Open 2017. All may enter any concept of theirs that they so desire to compete against other artists. It's everyone for themselves as the biggest competition comes back for one more go-round. Make sure you have 4 different concepts ready to go, as you'll need a new one for each round you progress to. Will you use your best first round, or save the best for last? If you make it. You decide. It's the HJC Open 2017.
Here we go with the HJC Open preview for 2017. This is the 7th tournament in the history. The nameplates certainly are filling up on the Concept Cup. And of course, the tournament starts with the round robin, which anyone can enter. And from there, we will work to 16 artists who then must come up with a new concept for each round. And we'll get our champion by the end of July, who will then receive, this year, they're receiving a championship plaque as the same for the Concept of the Year winner. You'll need 5 excellent concepts to win. That's been proven in the past. The issue or the question that I always think about first is, of the 5 you have, you know which one is the best. When do you submit your best concept? TC, why don't you start us off? When would you submit your absolute best concept, assuming you were to go all the way in this tournament?
I mean, if you're going with your absolute best, in my mind, it's got to be the final, because in the earlier rounds, you're going up against people, but when you get to the final round, you're up against someone who's had the strength of a catalog to be able to make it that far. So obviously, they've got what it takes to really pull out the big guns, and you're going to have to win it all.
Steve, when would you pull out your best concept, assuming you got to the final?
I would pull it out at the end,
Yeah.
just like TC said, because you're going against someone who's also trying to put out their best. So, I like to go for the style where you think that you've seen like their best, and then all of a sudden you just come out with something that just blows your last thing out of the water. So that's what I say.
Phil, best concept, when do you use it?
First round. The reason being is because that's when you're facing the most competition. Every round in the bracket, except for the first round, you're only facing one artist. Here, you're trying to finish top 16 out of God knows who many artists, right?
Yeah.
So throw your best one out there, get into the 16, and then go from there, from worst to best of what's remaining.
And assuming, I don't know how far, we encourage people to go far ahead, but assuming someone does go far ahead and creates all 5 of the concepts, and you analyze your concept, you will identify one as the worst one.
Easily.
When's a safe time to say, okay, I'm going to play that one? Is the first round, second round, round robin? What do you do? TC, if you had a worse concept, when do you risk putting it into the tournament?
I'd say round of 16 is your garbage round, because I do like Jet's idea of using a good one to get into the round of 16, because you're going up against a lot of competitors. But then
That was Phil's idea.
I'm new.
He's new. He's a rookie. He hasn't been introduced to everyone yet.
Yeah. I like Phil's idea of the round of 16 of the round robin being a good concept.
Yeah.
Because you've got a lot of tough competition and you want to get into the actual tournament. But once you get to the round of 16, I think that's when you're going to be able to sort of coast, rather than it's going to be the point where you're actually in the tournament, where you're going to have a competitor who's not going to be like the cream of the crop. Like, everyone who gets into the tournament is going to be a good competitor, but you have a better chance of going up with someone whose concept may not be as strong as your own. So that's the time to use your weakest.
Well, there has been times in the past where a quote-unquote fluke concept has made it out of the 16, or has made it out of the round robin into the 16, so that's where you could risk. As far as I see it, you don't know, in a sense, what's coming in for the round robin, because you don't know who's going to enter the round robin. But once you get to the bracket portion, you are aware who you're up against and what their skill level is and what their style is, so you may have an idea of what they're going to bring in. Maybe you make, or you have a concept that you think will better their style. Steve, thoughts on maybe when do you use your worst concept, or even analyzing your competition and deciding what concept you use?
Usually what my strategy is make ones that are all fairly different so you can show a different type of style, and then throw one in for the round robin. And if you go through the 16, if you know what your competition is like, then you'd be able to pair any of those concepts that you have for you up against that other person. So I would say definitely pay attention to your opponents, pay attention to the bracket once you get into the 16.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to focus on who your competition is, because I got caught on that one year, and I had already laid out, okay, I want to do this one first, this one second, and I got wiped away. I was the higher seed. I got wiped away in the round of 16, didn't move on. So you absolutely do have to pay attention to your competition. Now, there might be some people out there who don't believe us when we say that you should do your concepts ahead of time, and they think they can get them in on time. Just a heads up to everybody that the deadline for concepts, once we get into the bracket round, is on the Tuesday, and the voting ends on the Friday, so it's a quick turnaround. Anybody here been caught, or anybody here entered the tournament and been caught doing a concept late, not been satisfied with what you're doing, or on the other side of it, maybe you don't create what you want to and instead create what you think the readers will like. Phil, any situations that you can identify?
See, this is going to sound sad for me because I've never experienced that because I've never gotten out of the first round. So,
you and me both.
There you go. So I can definitely see that as something happening, but I can't say to it from personal experience, sadly.
Steve or TC, either you guys have... TC, is this going to be your first HJC Open? Are you entering? Or?
This is my first Open. I am working on my concepts as we speak, but I will say something to making them ahead of time. When I first started writing, we were doing the international competition, and I had spent most of my time working on my first post, and then I said, hey, I'm going to be able to do it in one night, and I cranked it all out, and then my computer crashed that night and ruined all of the work I had done except for one of the jerseys, so I wasn't able to make the deadline for the competition. So even if you do everything, there are things out of your control that could take you out. And on top of it, if you're trying to work against the clock, you are going to make sloppy mistakes. You're not going to have as much time to look over what you're doing, to really go over the minute details that could be the make or break on whether or not you make it to the next round. So all in all, I think your best play is to make them ahead of time and then go back closer to the time when you actually have to submit so that you can go over the final details and make any tweaks that you see necessary.
Right. Well, it's never good to work on a tight deadline. As you say, you miss mistakes. I typically like to finish my concept and sit on it for 24 hours, and then I'll go back to it and make any tweaks. Anyway, while we're talking about concepts, Phil, Steve, TC, why don't you go first, Phil? Any sort of quirks that you do when making your concepts to try and make them the best they can be?
Basically, when I'm working on a concept, no matter if it's for a competition, just for the blog, or even for the Open, I just take an idea, run with it, and then just make some tweaks out there. I don't necessarily strategize it. I just kind of like feel the art behind the logo, maybe get some inspiration from the logo itself, and just try to piece things together. It's a little strange, but it works for me.
Well, I've noticed that when people come onto the writing team, the actual number of concepts that they start to create goes down. Steve?
Downhill real fast.
Yeah, real fast.
Yeah, haven't seen a concept from you in a while, Steve. Obviously, there might be other reasons, but anything that you may do when you are creating a concept, some quirks, and maybe some reasoning why when you become a writer, there's just the number of concepts you create goes down.
Well, I can tell you that I do have one in the works right now. It's just finding the time to actually send it in. Honestly, I'm a lazy person. So, but anyways, usually when I do a concept, I like to take my time on it now because I've learned over time that you can do one in like a half hour and it could look okay, or you could think out the, uniform design. You could think out what it would look like, how the colors were, and you can just do it over and over and over again in your head until it gets perfect. So definitely taking your time on it definitely helps you instead of hurts you.
Absolutely. Now going over the list of winners here in the HJC Open. 2011, Brad M. 2012, Justin C. 2013, Andrew G. 2014, Dylan W., now known as Dylan N. 2015,
Wonka.
2015, CPM, also known as Colin M. And And 2016, J3, those are your winners. You'll notice no repeat winners in that list. TC, is it possible for someone to repeat as winner in this tournament, do you think? Or is it too tough?
I think that it's going to be too tough to have a repeat winner just because, like, the fact that we've had so many different winners speaks to just the strength and the number of artists we have contributing to these contests. Like, we have a bunch of people, and even you can find it here among staff. Like, all of us have different things we like and dislike, and, you know, it's really up to the other readers to pick what they want. And I think that it could be really just come down to your one-on-one concept. Because if you have overall, like, your catalog is better than the person you're against, but the one that they put up against yours is better, you're not going to make it past that round. So it really is, it's not a tournament all the way through. It's each round is just one-on-one. You can't really think about anything else.
That's right, and to repeat, if you think about it, that's 10 concepts in a row that are extraordinary. And, I mean, I think the most concept of the week wins in a row that we had was 4 or 5 last year during the summer. Phil,
well, also real quick, if you don't mind, we did also have a repeat concept of the year winner. So
Justin C., who's I still see him active on Twitter, but he's gone on to different things. Is it possible? Is it possible to have a repeat winner in this tournament?
Just based on recent concepts, I think if there's any year for it, it's this year, because J3 won it last year, right?
Yeah, he did.
And have you seen his international, the World Hockey Jersey Concept Championships?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
J3 won that, and he won Concept of the Week because of it with the Germany jersey.
Well, that's a different guy. That's JJ. J3 has disappeared. I don't know where he is. Hopefully you're listening,
never mind.
J3.
Then it's not going to happen.
So J3 turned into that really strange joke you had that was stuck in like the 70s or something. But then he got picked up by aliens one night and then all of a sudden just disappeared and never appeared. Then back in the family.
That's what happens to people who submit to HJC. Just based on who you guys have seen submit concepts this year, who are your favorites to win? Who do you like this year? Phil. Sorry, go ahead. Phil, go ahead.
So, obviously there's a few artists out there like Taylor Roy, who's always a big player and all this stuff. Just pulling up the other contest winners real quick right now.
There's Brooks. Brooks has done well this year.
Freeman. Yes, done well.
Lucas is a constant contributor.
Beepo's actually done pretty well this year as well.
Yeah.
And then JJ, as we mentioned there, amongst the confusion. Avi,
Jordan Roberts.
Yes, Jordan Roberts.
Yeah,
Avi is always a wild card.
Avi.
So and then now Anthony has kind of come onto the scene, albeit without
controversy.
Well, no, with controversy.
I thought you said like without controversy.
No, I'm saying like without maybe say this like a smooth ride, for lack of a better term.
I'd say Anthony, if you're listening.
He's definitely going to be a big player in this tournament.
He can be a big player if we continue to see the concepts that he makes from the full body template. The flat template,
or better template.
Yeah, exactly. But Anthony has a chance because of the quantity that he submits. But we've had a discussion before we went on air here that we all prefer the full body templates that he makes. Steve, just from what you've seen from your post, do you have a favorite for this year or some favorites to win the tournament if they were to enter?
Like I say, Taylor, he's always pumped out really good stuff. There's Jordan Roberts, who when I first saw him do his stuff and first started posting his things, he's always come out with really good designs. And then you also have Brooksy there. he just has that really unique striping on the arms and everything else, so I always enjoy seeing his. But yeah, you do have some wild cards like Avi, and I think if Anthony plays it well, he could go far.
Absolutely. TC, from your time here, thoughts on maybe who could take the tournament this year?
I think Brooks is always strong. Noah B is actually who I've been watching. His series that he's been doing lately, the city matchups, I've been a huge fan of that series. I think it's a very ambitious project, and it's paid off very well for him. I know I've nominated him for Concept of the Week twice now based off that series. And like I said, Brooks, again, his 90s series, very ambitious, and it's paid off. Taylor, always one that Depot been doing well. And then, hold on, there was one that I saw just the other day. It's someone I wasn't quite familiar with. He was just on the post. Look it up for a second.
Was it the Senators Concept?
I don't believe so. It was
I know we had a concept this past week from Stefan.
No, it was Justin B. He had two on mine. He had a Calgary Flames one and a Ducks one. The Ducks one was pretty basic, but I really liked the Flames one, and he's done a good job with just overall presentation of it, like the full body template and just the whole shebang is very professional, and I like the way his concepts turn out.
Absolutely. So from judging from everyone's opinion, it's, again, pretty wide open. We have our few favorites, Brooks, Taylor, etc. But again, the HJC Open going on now, round robin going on as we record. Entries due this Friday, June 23rd by noon Eastern. So make sure to get your round robin entry if you want. Thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll be right back with the meat of this podcast, the Adidas jerseys.
Voting is your American right and responsibility. Wait, you're Canadian? Voting is your Canadian right and responsibility. Either way, vote for the Concept of the Week here at HJC. Every week there's a new vote on the right-hand side of the page in a black box. Just click the concept you wish to vote for, and boom, you're all done. Results posted every Saturday at 4:30 with Ryan's weekly recap here at HJC.
Welcome back, everybody. This is what you've been waiting for. We're going to talk about, speculate, review, whatever, about the upcoming Adidas jerseys. And as sportslogos.net and Aesthetics have reported, there's going to be about 13 teams making changes, varying from minor to major changes. And let's just start with what we expect from some of the teams. TC, what are you expecting from some of these teams that claim there will be changes?
Some of the teams that claim the changes, obviously we're going to see the Wild in a green home with what looks like a chest stripe. I'd be very happy with that. I did a preview of their second round of teasers yesterday. It looks like the Blue Jackets, from what we saw on the back collar, they're moving to a new font for the player's name. Same thing with the Bruins. They have a new font. They've eliminated the black outline on the name. The one that really is scaring me is the first round of teasers. Vegas, you could see they had the steel gray around the logo. And then the second round, when they showed the back collar, it was clearly black, which makes me think they might be attempting something similar to the Sabres' third jerseys, the Frocks. And a little part of me died forever when I saw that.
Brendan, any thoughts on what we might see from some of the teams when the Adidas jerseys get revealed on Thursday?
Isn't it next Tuesday? Not Thursday.
Tuesday, whatever the 20th is.
I believe that's Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday. Good for you.
Okay. Let's not scare our readers by making them think it's another 2 days away. Anyways, let's keep going with Vegas. I've seen a lot of people speculating that it's going to be a shoulder yoke in similar fashion to the Hurricanes, and that's what I'm hoping for. And I also think if they were to try a turd burger type jersey, it's not going to be as bad because the black and steel gray are going to be a little bit closer. So in a way, I'd actually kind of like to see how that works, but I don't want to see how it works if it's not going to be good.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the new Blue Jackets font for sure, and I actually saw somewhere it looks to be the one that's inside of their alternate cannon logo. The Bruins look a lot better. The Avalanche look pretty promising. Same with the Wild. And so pretty much a lot of the teams actually look a lot more promising than they did under Reebok Edge. I'm trying to think if there's even a downgrade from what I can see so far. But, well, the Ducks are keeping the Phantom shoulder yoke, it looks like, and that's about the only thing that I'm not liking so far.
Oh, yeah, hopefully, well, I guess it's already happening, but hopefully we move away from the Phantom yokes and the piping and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it looks like LA and Columbus are also keeping shoulder piping, but I think those work better than like a Phantom shoulder yoke in the style the Ducks have it.
Yeah.
I will say there is something to be said. The Ducks, after next season, are moving to orange for their home unis. So they could eliminate the Phantom yoke with that.
Okay, hopefully that happens, because that'd be good. Just going back to the Boston jerseys, from what I've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if they just go straight 70s Bobby Orr replica. With
that
the
would
removal
be nice.
of the Steve, what are you thinking from the teams that we've heard from sportslogos.net and Aesthetics? What are you expecting to see?
I'm very curious about the Avalanche. The teaser, the second round teasers with the back kind of gave me hope that they might be going for an old 90s style look with the angled striping. I would say Buffalo. I'm kind of hoping that they get rid of the piping because it's terrible.
Yeah, and pointless. There's
there's no point to it.
No.
I do like the font that Columbus is using now on the back. It's nice, as well as the Flames. They're not going to have italicized names anymore.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's just traditional names now.
I forgot to mention that. That's one thing that I'm really loving because I hate the italicized numbers on any jerseys. I hate the italicized names. They just don't look right on a hockey jersey.
Yeah.
Especially when you stick TV numbers with the italicization, if that's a word. It just doesn't look right at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, now it's a word, so that's good.
Being from Atlanta, seeing Calgary with black in it at all doesn't look right to me. I think they really missed a huge opportunity to go back to the old color scheme because it just...
Oh, yeah, they did.
Enjoyed it.
Now, I'm not going to disagree. I think Calgary's old jerseys, like the originals, look so much better. Like, I see pictures of those jerseys and I don't know how to explain it. They just look so good. But I think black does still kind of make sense for Calgary if you think about, I guess, a little representation of the team name, because you can kind of think of it as like burned or charred. Yeah. But I still think they should keep it minimal, just because it doesn't look as good with it, in my opinion.
Well, here's a question. Do you think that if they were to go with the traditional look but add black as an accent, do you think that would have turned out good?
I think that would be excellent.
Oh, yeah.
I think if they minimized the black, it would make it much more palatable.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
On a similar note, I think some of the North Stars jerseys that have minimal black on it, I really like the black on those ones. Yeah. Maybe not the black pants, but I remember the green jersey, their final green jersey. I just loved the little amount of black. And I think the Flames could have a very similar effect on the Flames if they were to do so.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, one of the things that we saw in the teaser images was a somewhat knit material being used for the numbers, or at least the TV numbers. And I think Adidas tried to do something with similar with the NBA jerseys. Just your thoughts, guys, on the materials that are being shown as being used on these jerseys. TC.
I think it's a good move on Adidas' part. I think it's definitely going to be good for the players. They're going to have a little more dexterity, be able to have a little more natural movement than they do with actual patches. If they carry it over to the Fanatics jerseys, it'll be great for the fans because I don't encounter this problem as much because I'm a Rangers fan and they have the diagonal. But I remember when I wore my Thrashers jersey, I had this giant superhero logo that when I would sit down, it just kind of sat there away from my body. Just when I went to sit down, it was still standing up. And I think for fans and the more casual fans, if they don't have actual patches and it's more the mesh material that the jersey is made out of, I think they're going to be able to sell a lot more.
As a traditionalist, as I am, a heavy traditionalist, I want to feel the patches on the jersey. I enjoy that feeling. And so I actually get worried about the crappy material that may be used. And we'll get to the replicas. Everyone wants to give their piece on Fanatics making the replicas. But that's one of my main concerns and worries. Another thing that's coming up is the World Cup of Hockey style collar. And Steve, maybe you could give your thoughts on if you like that collar and how Adidas may handle laces on some of the jerseys.
You got that goal horn ready?
Yeah. It gets a little dark here, everybody.
I fucking hate those collars.
They're not great. They really aren't great.
No, and it's that, like, trapezoid that really does it in. It's like, I understand, like, what I think is going to be cool is the chromified NHL patch, because I think that just, like, brings it more modern instead of just saying, oh, here's a tiny little patch.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like what Reebok did with the collars, how they put in that little insert behind them, that was nice. But what Adidas is doing, it's just freaking ruining the jerseys, and I don't even see how they would possibly be able to do laces unless they tried to do a traditional style jersey collar. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I also find that they've added a few what they think to be neat features of the collar, yet the collar still boxes in what you can do with the collar of your jersey. Right? You're stuck to this oval shape with the trapezoid area in the front, and you either have two colors or you have one color, and you're using this terrible looking collar. It's supposed to be a hockey jersey, not a sweatshirt, and to me the collar is one of the hang-ups. I don't like it at all, and Adidas seems pretty married to the idea, so I have to wonder if perhaps lace jerseys are not happening. When we switched over to the Edge jerseys, I think only 4 jerseys had laces. So,
that'd be a revolt.
Yeah. Brendan, thoughts on the collars, or just what else we'll see from Adidas?
I don't like the collars either. I think a lot of us can agree on that, especially having like the front in one color, the back in another. That's awful. Yeah. The very thin piping on the top of the collar, that's awful. The pentagon looks awful. I think the only way it could actually work is if it's all one color, because then it's kind of just all blends together. You don't really notice the differences. And even then, it might look a little bit thick, as we've seen by the apparent leaked Oilers jerseys that we don't think are leaked, but you never know until they're unveiled.
Yeah, it's pretty thick. It stands out, especially if you're using a separate color. Now, the point that everyone seems to really be wanting to get to is that Fanatics will be taking care of the replica jerseys, and then if you want a authentic jersey, that's where you're going to get the Adidas branding. And I've read reports that a blank replica jersey from Fanatics, with no mention of Adidas on it whatsoever and different materials being used to create it, will go between $150 and $190 TC, thoughts on what Fanatics is going to do with the replica jerseys?
Ruin it?
Yeah.
Can I just knock that out of the way? I think they're going to go for profit over loyalty to the fans. They're going to cut a lot of corners. They're going to use cheap materials, even like more so than it's going to be a wider expanse between the actual jersey and the replicas than already exists with the Edge system. Not to mention the Fanatics branding all over it is going to look atrocious. It's not a good logo. It's not like an actual apparel provider. It's some random site that they subcontracted it to. So it's kind of becoming a mockery of the jersey, and the price tag for it is just a slap in the face to fans to get something that's not even branded with the actual company that makes the things, and then to increase the price like that is going to be just, I don't know. I don't feel like spending an arm and a leg for a jersey. Like, that's just, most of my collection, I've been able to create such an expansive one because I've been able to find deals, and with the move to Adidas, I don't really think I'll be able to find those deals as easily.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. I also feel that the numbers, and in fact any patch that goes on the jersey, we're now looking at a situation where we'll get that crappy plastic like the shoulder patches on the Edge jersey, but I see that happening on the numbers. I see that happening on the main crest and anything else that's on the jersey. Brendan, why don't you talk about what you're expecting from Fanatics and the replica jerseys?
Well, let's say one thing for sure. I don't have high expectations for it. And right off the bat, being branded with Fanatics, I don't think any of us like that. So I definitely don't like that. Of course, I want the actual NHL branding on it, so like how the actual NHL jerseys are going to be. And I've heard that they're going to be similar to a sweatshirt, maybe. I don't like that kind of thing at all. I've heard that at some point. I don't like that at all. But I want to also kind of reserve my judgment for when they actually come out, because this is all speculation. Let's just be honest. Aside from the Fanatics logo being on it, this is all speculation. Mm-hmm. So I would not be surprised with anything you guys said, and I would hate all of it. But I want to reserve actually saying that the Fanatics jerseys are going to suck until we find out that they suck, because, like I said, it's all speculation right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I've discussed this, but if the Fanatics jerseys actually do suck, then I will be moving to either an authentic exclusive collection or game-issued, game-worn collection.
And I have to agree now, because I forgot to mention it, that price is just absurd. I mean, even though I already buy legit jerseys every so often, it's about that price for a jersey with a name and number on it, too.
Yeah,
so
they're offering blank ones for that price now.
If they're going to be awful quality jerseys for that price, like TC said, that's a slap in the face to the fans, and you are not getting my business in that case, Fanatics.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, the floor is yours. Let us know what you think about Fanatics and the replica jerseys.
Get that goal horn ready, Ryan.
Okay. So this is what our defense said. Yeah, they're not going to be fitted like a normal hockey jersey. They're going to be fitted to, as what they quoted, to fit a person more normally, which I think is utter bullcrap. People buy a hockey jersey to feel like a hockey jersey, so when you're going to change it to make it feel like it's a normal sweatshirt, how's it going to look? They're going to have to modify this. They're going to have to modify the logo on the front. They're going to have to modify where the shoulder logo placements are. They're going to have to modify so much. Not only that, it's going to be crappy material, I guarantee, that they're going to use. So like you said, they're probably going to do some type of either sublimate base or some type of screen print that they're going to put on all of the jerseys. And the fact that they put the price tag there and don't even have the guts to do Adidas is just shameful. You know, I mean, heck, Nike even has the guts to charge so much for a replica football jersey by the NFL, but at least they put their branding on it. You know, so I can see what happens is that people go out, they look at the replicas, and they just get mad. Because then they see the actual ones, price ones, and they can't afford it, and just there's going to be something bad happen to them. You know, they're either going to lose a lot of money from the replica sales, and they're just going to need to make changes, or I honestly don't know. All I know is that I would purely like to burn one of those Fanatics jerseys once one comes out.
So overall, a generally optimistic outlook on possibly what Adidas can give us, but as far as the replica jerseys go, not high hopes from this group of HJC writers.
Now let me say one thing real quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that a sweatshirt-like fit would not be good no matter what. But I think a compromise, if they absolutely had to do that, was to make a line in that manner and make another line that are more like legit NHL jerseys. And basically just have them both. The fans can choose what they want. I think that would be a compromise if they absolutely wanted to do a sweatshirt-type fit. But I still don't think any of us are going to like that no matter what.
Yeah. I like that idea. Have the poser line and then the fan line.
That's perfect, because then you'll have all the celebrities wear the ones that fit like sweatshirts, and you'll have all the white girls who know nothing about hockey but go with their boyfriends and take selfies saying, "Look, I'm at a hockey game."
Oh yeah, there's
The girls who like hockey just because the guys are attractive.
Yeah,
Or possibly a guy who likes the guys because they're attractive. I won't judge.
Okay, that might have been. We reached a point there where we were probably singling out certain people, so. But whatever. That's my true feelings. I'm sorry, people.
I like it because there's a guy from my high school, private high school, who dropped out of college to become a white rapper, and on Instagram he posts himself in a Rangers jersey, and it makes me ashamed to be a Rangers fan. It's the most atrocious thing I've ever seen.
Well, you gotta think, Snoop Dogg always wore, like, Penguins stuff. He wore a Penguins jersey, and,
Justin Bieber wears them all.
yeah, that's true. Oh,
Justin Bieber isn't a measuring stick for anything, so.
The pride of Canada.
That's. Oh God, I'm not even ready to get into that. That's a different topic altogether.
It's okay.
I guess we're off topic of Adidas already, but I actually saw a forum on that. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, the Kanye to the site, and they were talking about which hockey jerseys just look good for fashion. Nothing to do with hockey, like which ones look good for fashion with different things. I don't know if I consider that a good thing or not, but I don't think they were fans in the first place. They just wanted something else to add to their wardrobe.
I guess so. I guess whatever for
Yeah.
whatever anybody needs, but I wouldn't be willing to wear something that I didn't know anything about. TC, Brendan, thanks for joining us today. Steve, you're going to be back for the next segment. And we'll go over the Adidas jerseys all over again with our other group of writers. We'll be right back.
Hi guys, Phil here. Every Wednesday here at HJC, I bring you a Long Island perspective on things on the blog, between your concepts, the latest jersey news and competitions. Is it a bit pessimistic? You watch the Islanders for the last 20 years and you'll see why. It's the Wednesday Post on HJC.
Welcome back. We're going to continue on with our topic discussion of the Adidas jerseys. Joining us for this round is Phil, Jets, and Steve's back because he's still got some anger building up inside of him. So here's the teams that sportslogos.net is saying will have some varying changes from minor to major. Boston, Buffalo, Calgary, Colorado, Columbus, Dallas, Edmonton, Florida, Minnesota, Nashville, New Jersey, Ottawa, and of course we'll see something from the Vegas Golden Knights. Phil, why don't you start us off, things you're looking forward to from those teams, and maybe some things you expect or whatever.
Well, but between those teams that you mentioned and the leaks that the intentional leaks that we've seen from Adidas itself, I got to tell you, first of all, I'm thankful that nothing's changing with the New York Islanders jersey. Thank goodness, because you know our history with jerseys. It's not good. I'm wearing the Islanders wave
with the silver yoke.
Black jersey, silver yoke. Oh yeah, that one was bad. Ugh, it's Jets' favorite, but it's bad. And between that, the Fisherman's wave jersey, which I've got the wave jersey on right now for some reason, and it's just a mess. So thank goodness nothing's changed there.
How about laces? The Islanders use laces right now. What are you expecting?
I would not be upset if the Islanders ditched the laces, to be honest with you, because for most of their history, they have not had laces on their jerseys. So if they went with like a solid orange collar, I would not be upset. As for some of the other teams, I'm kind of disappointed New Jersey's keeping the black and not going to the green. Colorado is getting me really excited because looking at the teaser of the back and seeing how the yoke outline is angled in comparison to all the other jerseys, the mountain yoke should be back. Calling it right now, 95% sure that the mountain yoke is back.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm going to be so happy.
Hey Phil, what if the Islanders for some reason brought back a version of the Fisherman as an alternate?
Being a guy who grew up in the 90s, I'm going to absolutely love it, and I'm also going to enjoy the fan base meltdown over it. It's going to be funny.
I would love to see the Islanders do a 190-year Fisherman jersey, not in warm-ups, because that's useless. But
the one in warm-ups they did a couple years ago was stupid, because they just slapped the Fisherman logo on a royal blue warm-up jersey, practice jersey. Yeah. It was bad.
Yeah, love to see the Islanders come out with a Fisherman jersey.
And one last thing I also want to point out, a couple podcasts ago, I think I did mention that I would not be surprised if Minnesota is changing their jerseys. And what do you got?
Way to go, Phil.
Minnesota changing their jerseys to something that actually looks really cool.
Yeah,
so,
hopefully it turns out. And
I can't wait.
We'll see if they're changing the white one, too. Maybe the white one will have a chest stripe on it as well.
I hope they match for the first time since before the Edge system.
Jets, just some thoughts on the teams that are rumored to be changing and what you're looking for.
I'm looking for each team to at least improve on what they have now. From what we've seen, a lot of them are. Calgary, obviously, with the better font, and I'm assuming right now we're going to get a real hem stripe. No more. I think the piping is done for every team.
Hopefully.
So you could say, hopefully. So for Colorado, Nashville, Ottawa, I think has piping. They're all gone. Dallas is one thing I'm intrigued by because they have very nice uniforms now. They're just not particularly interesting, per se. A team that has a really nice logo that a lot of work can go with. They wear Rangers and Blackhawks copies. Another team that's interesting, Ottawa. We have seen almost nothing of them. We just know what their logo is.
Yeah.
And they wore a template for the past 10 seasons, so it makes me wonder that template will not transfer to the Adidas jersey. What's going to happen with that?
Well, hopefully, I mean, that was Reebok's favorite excuse, that the old jersey didn't transfer to the template. And that was a load of bull. That we found out eventually that was a load of bull. Steve, you got something maybe that you didn't add on the last round that you want to get in on this one?
Yeah, there were just two things I wanted to add. As what Jeff said with Ottawa, since they used a template, our dream, or my dream, would be to have them go back to their original striping from the 90s, or something of that similar nature, because hearing that they wanted to do, like, some type of multi-striping on their arms, I heard that somewhere. So something like what the 67s do.
Okay.
And also, I'd like to see that Nashville got rid of that random blue art on the back of their jersey.
Interesting. That was one of my favorite features of that jersey. But, yeah, from the teaser that we saw, it was all yellow except for the collar on the back. We covered this in the last section, But the materials that are being made, and most notably the numbers that seem to be made with a knit material. Phil, your thoughts on materials being used to make these Adidas jerseys?
Just thinking from like a player's perspective, it's going to be a lot better because the jersey is going to be a lot lighter. It's going to be a lot more performance-minded. So I can't fault Adidas for wanting to do that at all.
Jets, thoughts on construction materials of the jersey?
I like the idea that I've seen from the teasers that we've seen so far of the jersey material being used in the logo. That I don't actually mind too much. Neither do I mind the idea of the TV numbers being one piece of material and then having the numbers on it. That I don't mind. The biggest thing for me is going to be the shoulder patches. If they are worse than what we have now, and those are garbage, I probably won't buy one, maybe one Jets one, but that's the biggest thing is that I can, numbers are expensive to get. I can understand you want to cut costs with that. The idea with the logos is neat and it is cost cutting as well, but if the patches are crap, then what's the point?
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, you covered your points. Anything to add from what you said last time around?
I'm actually quite intrigued by how they want to make the jerseys lighter. I never said that, which I think would be interesting because I want to see how it works well with, say, the goalies now, because the goalies had to go to thinner pants this year. So if they have to go to a lighter jersey, would that help them at all? Or, you can tell that it would help the players. It would help them with their movements. So that's what I'm looking for throughout the jerseys themselves.
And, of course, a lighter jersey, you would assume less material, so we'll have to see the durability of these jerseys, and perhaps they might not hold up, or they might actually hold up, and Adidas will be praised for creating a fantastic product that everyone loves. Let's move to the World Cup of Hockey style collars, and I guess we can call this the Adidas style collars now. Jets, thoughts on this collar, and if you like it, don't like it?
I think that I don't mind it for the most part, especially teams that won't blend it in the jerseys. Obviously, if you have a team like Nashville that's doing something really simple with it, I think that's fine. But that stupid thing in the middle that teams are going to be coloring, if you have a team that's going to be making their jerseys are blue and that collar's blue, I think that looks better than the current Reebok collars. But, teams are going to try and get creative with this. Reebok had about 10 different collar styles that they could go to, and I think of that, 3 of them look good. And the other thing about that is laces. Reebok really improved the collar lace from the CCM jerseys in a lot of cases, but and I don't even object to the inverse lace style. I think that's okay. But what's going to happen with Adidas now? Are we going to get those printed laces that sort of style Nike had?
Oh, no. The Nike 2014 Olympic jerseys. They disappeared for good reason. Phil, thoughts on the collars, what we'll see from Adidas?
See, the thing that we've seen from the leaks or proposals or whatever you want to call that Edmonton thing that we saw, it's going to be interesting to see how certain teams make it work, because I can guarantee you there's going to be teams that pull it off. But at the same time, there's going to be classic styles that you just can't replicate, especially the laces.
Yeah. Now, just going through all the teams that have leaked their or have had their jersey teasers provided by Adidas, I don't think we've seen Chicago, and I don't think we've seen Toronto yet. Are the only 2 teams.
And we have not seen Pittsburgh either.
No, we have.
We have. I haven't seen anything from Pittsburgh.
We haven't seen Ottawa's back.
But we haven't seen anything from Toronto or Chicago yet, right?
Yeah.
Right. That much I know.
My personal opinion is because they're not changing a thing and there's nothing to really share, but at the same time,
they
other
just
teams
rebranded a year ago.
Well, that's the thing. So the Leafs rebranded a year ago, knowing full well that Adidas is taking over. I think they would have that knowledge and would create their jersey based on that, and that's why I don't think anything's going to change as far as the Leafs But thoughts on possibly why we have no leaks at the moment from Toronto or Chicago? Phil?
I think a lot of it is because if you do too much change, especially with those teams, it's considered sacrilegious. Like, even when people were, like, speculating about the Leafs' original changes for this past offseason, they were like, oh, God, what's going to happen now? And just panicking. So, I mean, if you see anything different from Chicago as opposed to what they wear now, maybe just a different collar, then there's going to be major outrage.
There will be.
Yeah.
Jets, you agree with that? Why haven't we seen anything from Toronto or Chicago?
I just think that they're, too busy. Like, I just think that this is something that has slipped their mind. Like, I think that they might even have them sitting in a folder on the Twitter guy's computer, and it's just like, okay, remember to post this, June 16th, and he forgot to post it. I think that the main reason is that, Chicago has worn the same thing for nearly 65 years now. We are not going to get a change with this. Toronto, to change it would be, pointless at this point. The one thing that, though, is the Ottawa back. I want to know why that hasn't been brought up, because this is a team that clearly wants to change. They've already said they're going to do a major rebrand within the next couple of seasons. I think that they are hiding the fact that their font is changing.
Yeah. So moving on from that, we'll go on to the big topic, which is the Fanatics manufacturing the replica jerseys. This seems to get the most people interested. Phil, what are your thoughts? Fanatics, replica jerseys, and Adidas only doing the authentic jerseys?
I mean, where's the consistency? Where is the consistency that you're going to see from the same company putting in the same effort for the same product? Now you've got two different companies essentially working to do this. This is... Oh, boy. I'm not looking forward to it. And what else I'm not looking forward to is having to pay $170 for a jersey that this year, even before they went on clearance sales, I paid $109 for a blank replica.
$109, what a deal.
Yeah. American dollars, by the way.
Yeah.
Jets, your thoughts on Fanatics and the replica jerseys?
Now, I remember when the CCM 550 replicas were $100 Canadian, and you got a fully stitched patch, and it felt relatively similar to what the players had in the ice. Those days are gone. My experience with the Edge Premier jerseys was that they caught everything. Your jerseys will be full of catches and pulls because the material just wasn't that great. The patches would wash out in the wash quite literally, and they charged you in Canada a premium for being Canadian. Right now, you go to Sport Check, they are $150 Canadian.
That's ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous. So, we're looking at something now. The World Cup of Hockey jerseys were $170 Canadian. I am not paying that for a jersey that's going to be like a T-shirt. I think that the NFL is the best comparison because they do have this similar lowering of quality with regards to replica jerseys to the point now where there is one that's like an $80 T-shirt with numbers printed on it and a slightly different color. And I fear that's what's going to happen with this, is that we're just going to continually go down in quality but go up in price.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, don't know how it is in the States, but in Canada, there's the crappy Walmart jerseys, which is a terrible quality product with the plastic patch. And if this keeps going like this, we don't know what Fanatics is going to give us, but based on our own speculation here, if it keeps going like this, that is going to be the standard of a replica jersey coming up. And obviously, we don't want to get to that point because $150, $190, $170, whatever it is, for that piece of crap would be awful. One thing that this may drive people to do is purchase fakes, and an increased number of fake and counterfeit jerseys out there. Thoughts on whether or not the lower quality Fanatics jerseys will lead to increased sales of fake jerseys, Phil?
That's not what's going to cause the increased sales of fakes. It's going to be the high price of said replicas. It's not the quality at all. It's going to be the price. Because that's the biggest driving point as to why people buy fakes in the first place, is the price. They say, oh, why am I going to spend $120 on this jersey over here from the team store when I can go to this website and get it for $25?
Yeah.
Right? Now you're going to jack it up to $170 or whatever, and it's still going to, and $25 for the China jerseys.
Jets, thoughts on the counterfeit jersey market and what the Fanatics replicas may do to that?
I completely agree with Phil in that the people that are going to buy fakes are not the people that are currently buying premiers. But I do think that it will drive up the price more so than quality. But at the same time, what it sounds like we're getting are going to be fake quality jerseys for retail price.
Yeah.
And that's frankly unacceptable for someone who now has to pay, if he wants to pay retail, 190 Canadian dollars for a fully customized jersey. And I think that what's going to end up happening is that you're going to have a lot of people now who don't know really how to tell a fake jersey from a real jersey.
Yeah.
Go onto eBay. eBay is going to become this hotbed of fakes that are good enough to fool a casual fan who thinks they're going to get a deal even at $50, $70 for a blank jersey. And that's just what's going to keep out. Is that a lot of particularly opportunistic fakers are going to take this chance to get a lot of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see how everything shakes out here. June 20th, we're expecting to see all of the home jerseys revealed. Hopefully at the draft on June 23rd. We'll get to see some road jerseys as well. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Not only that, but I get to write about it the next day.
Oh,
that's right.
Phil has the extra long post.
Oh, yeah.
He's already preparing
10 pages in Microsoft Word or something.
And I get the next day.
There you go.
Yeah. We'll see where everything goes. It's definitely going to be an interesting week coming up. Thanks to everyone who listened. Thanks to the writers joining in. And hopefully we have another crazy week like this, and we'll see you next time on the HJC Podcast.